Okay, on this video, we're going to be learning about how do we make tanks shoot, or just any kind of character. I believe I have it ready to go. Not so much for this tank, but for the red tank, I believe it can fire bullets and it blows up some terrain and such. So we're going to see how to do that. In order to do that, we're going to learn about something called cloning. So we're going to be making a sprite that will function as sort of a factory to create other sprites. So our green tank will make a green bullet, and did I get that to work? Oh, I do actually have it working. So we'll just take a look at the different scripts and see what's going on inside. So here we go. Let's see if I can make this a little bit bigger. All right. So first of all, we're going to have a variable for keeping track of how many shots we have. And to make a variable, you just go to variables and you click on, you won't see these things until you make one. We can click on make a variable. And it's very important well, you know what, I think we'll just say for all sprites. Make your variable for all sprites. And you're going to name one, you know, um, for a particular kind of tank. Each tank will need a separate ammo variable. So you can see I have green ammo and red ammo. So keep track of the amount of ammo that you have. And then here we are using the set block. And I'll just zoom in. You can see I'm using the set green ammo to 1,000. So our green tank starts with 1,000 bullets, which is a lot. And then the rest of this is for the bullet sprite. I just move it out of the way. The actual sprite itself is not going to be doing a lot. It's just going to be a factory that will produce copies of itself. I'll send it to 1,000, 1,000 just to get out of the way, and I hide it as well. So that's what the sprite does. And then there's one other interesting script here. Well, actually, there's a few more interesting scripts. Here is the one that actually results in shooting. So I'm just going to break it down a little bit more simply here. So basically we're using a forever loop, and we're checking to see if we're pressing a particular key. For whatever reason, I chose the 0 key to be when I press it, and check out what I do. I have it so that it is, I'll just make this a little bit bigger. There we go. I have it so that whenever I press the 0 key, I change green ammo by -1, which means I use up one sort of piece of ammo, and I create a clone of myself. And when you do this, create a clone of myself, which you can find under control, by the way, it's at the bottom of control. You make a copy of the sprite, which begins with separate triggers. So that's an important thing to know. It makes a copy, but what does this copy do? Not much. If it starts with a green flag, the copies don't get these green flag scripts. They only get whatever it is you program with a when I start as clone script. So I have two scripts here. When I start as clone, wait 2 seconds, delete this clone. This one here is a little bit more elaborate. So I want to go into detail sort of on the different parts of it. So the first part here is when I start as a clone, I switch to the correct costume. And you probably only have one costume to begin with, but we'll get into why we might have multiple costumes in our bullet. So when you first start, you might not need that. Then the clone of the bullet needs to go to the green tank. You got to select the right tank, otherwise, you'll have some problems. And then this is probably the trickiest part here. I'll take this out and make it a little simpler. Clicking is hard. Then I'm gonna point the bullet in the direction of the green tank. So that's obviously important to get the bullet lined up with the tank so it goes in the right direction. So we point the bullet in the direction of green tank. This block here, this piece of code is hard to find. It's under sensing, and it looks like this one here. It doesn't look at all. This is the one that it starts off as. But you can select a sprite, and then, oh, that's a funny jump. And then you can select all sorts of different properties that sprite has. So you can do all sorts of different kind of inspections of other sprites. So what we want in particular is we want the direction of green tank, so we can point in the same direction. And then last but not least, we have to show. Why do we have to show? Well, the original sprite is hidden, right? So when we start as a clone, it's also going to be hidden, and so we need to make it show. So the next part is how the sprite moves, how the bullet moves. So I have a repeat until loop. Again, that's under control. It's a little bit further down. It's under the wait until, repeat until. And the idea with that is this loop keeps happening until one of these things happen. And I have multiple possibilities here. So I used an OR operator. You can see in the operators, there's and OR. OR means that if either of these conditions occur, if either I touch the wall color or if I touch the edge of the screen, then it will stop. If I use an AND, then both of those conditions would have to happen to stop. So definitely OR is the correct one here. And what do I do over and over again? I move 10 steps. And we got to use move so that it goes in the direction that the bullet is pointing. It just kind of moves 10 steps in whatever direction it's facing. So that repeat until loop is good for keep on going until you touch a wall. So that's the second part. This is the moving of the bullet. The third part is what happens when the bullet crashes into the wall or the edge. So there's so many things you could do here that are interesting and unique, and this is going to be a great place to get quality marks. It's going to be all about taking this script and changing it. If you just kind of do this exact same thing, that's not that exciting. So try and change it up. But what we do here, when the bullet eventually stops because it's hit one of these two things, I'm going to switch it to a costume, stamp, and then delete this clone. So what is this stamp all about? So I have two costumes here. One is this kind of purple circle. And note that, I don't know if you can see over on the far right corner, that's the same color as the ground color. And of course we have the original costume. I might call this bullets and explosion. Might be better names for those things. So I switch to costume, explosion, and stamp. And what stamp does is it draws the color, or the costume, sorry, onto the background. And that's how I get the walls to break. I'll zoom out a bit. You can see that my bullets seem to like drive through and eat the walls. Really what's happening is I'm just switching to an explosion costume. And you'll note that it's bigger than the bullets. When the bullet hits, it'll explode and eat out a chunk of the wall. You can make that as big or as small as you want. And then I stamp so it covers it up, and then I delete this clone. Delete this clone is really important. Every clone should delete by the end of it. If you leave your clone undeleted, then they kind of pile up and they'll use up your computer's memory, and eventually your program will start lagging. So that's basically the main script. I do have this other script. This is meant to limit the range of my bullet. So I might just hit a wall and it deletes, but I can also make it so that it also will only travel for 2 seconds and then it will delete. If a clone is deleted, then its other clone scripts are gone. So you can see that I have sort of a limited range on my gun. Like I can only shoot so far. I'm not sure how far. Looks like I could shoot pretty far. That 2 seconds isn't really fooling anybody. Oh, whoops! I won. I wasn't really meaning to. So maybe that number isn't a great number. So I can switch that up to 1 second maybe, and then I can have sort of a limited range. The bullets just kind of stop at that point. That's just the range of my bullets. After 1 second of traveling, we just delete it. And you can adjust this to sort of change the range of stuff. So there's all sorts of interesting possible changes in here. I'll just mention that we'll run out of ammo. So as a final thing, to give that ammo variable some meaning, when we shoot, we should just double check that actually we still have ammo. So that's where we can use this AND operator. So again, that's from operations or operators. And what we do is basically we want to check both conditions. We want to make sure that we both have pressed the firing key and we have ammo greater than 0. This variable means nothing until you give it some programming, so that's how it works. So just kind of slot those in, and now we can only shoot if we press the trigger and we have ammo left. Okay, so that's your basics of how to shoot. Go ahead and try it yourself, and there's another video on how to make cooler guns. Well, not cooler, but just different guns, how you can shake things up. Okay, thanks so much for watching.